can he get himself over that line to get the support he needs, because he has spoken the right things in the last few years, and yet still irresponsible activities off the field have followed, and this is the latest of those. It's like I say, he keeps getting in his own way. How do you forcibly interject?
Well, I don't think you can forcibly interject, but I think if you look at all the things that go on around men's mental health and looking after people, you've got to be there to support, and it's almost about showing that unwavering support in terms of, okay, let's, these are your options, these are the things you can do, and let him make the decisions. And if he then makes the wrong decisions, that's going to be on him. But from my point of view, you've got to be able to look yourself in the mirror every morning, and offering that to Rangy Chase, regardless of the number of chances he's had in people's eyes, is the way to keep that door, keep that crack in that door for him to walk through and look after himself.
And also,
if you shut it completely, then he's not going to.
Similarly with Walker, there's obviously been a lot of pressure put on him from the media stories and
of course,
and that sort of stuff, which he was ultimately exonerated of the sort of texting. Underage girls situation. So there's stuff there that maybe needs addressing and supporting, and I'm sure the rugby league community will do what they can to support these people, or point them in the direction of support. We know that our sport has stood up for mental health issues. Taking it to the game generally, one thing that I have great difficulty with as a fan of the sport, as someone who, even now into my 30s, idolises like young 20-somethings who run around with the ball in their hands and put it on the end of the foot occasionally, or smash another bloke across the ribs. I just can't understand how people can't be in a professional environment to monitor themselves for the 12 to 16 years that they need to not waste the chances that they get given. It just upsets me, because there's so many of us who would have loved to have had those opportunities, wouldn't we?
Because from a young age, and this isn't just talking about rugby, but from sport more broadly, from a young age, these kids are told, you're the next big thing, you're a world beater, you can walk on air. And if you hear it enough times, you start to believe it, and then it starts to bleed out into other areas of your life and your decision making, and you think, I'm untouchable, and perhaps they do make the odd mistake based on that enhanced and inflated self-belief that they're given. Because psychologically, you've got to give these guys self-belief to get them to perform in the sporting arena. So managing that and it kind of overlapping into other areas of life, I can understand that. And I'm not just talking about rugby league by any stretch of the imagination. I would say it's the same holds true in the other code, in professional football. I would be very, very surprised and you do see it coming out, probably with the same amount of regularity, within other professional sports. You do see sportsmen getting, in the
NFL, massively
exactly, so. And in the association of football, I can, there's the lad at Hull City. He went out and got on it and got
Jake Livermore, also in Hull,
exactly. So it's there, and it is going to. Of course, people are going to gravitate towards these sportsmen to try and shift a bit of gear their way. They've got a few quid in their pocket, so of course they're around it, because a dealer who's got his brain screwed on isn't going to be knocking around bloody some dossy area of town, hoping to shift little cheap bits of coke in there. He's going to go where the money is and where there could be a market for it. So it's around them. So it's not just rugby league.
Let's just hope this is a lesson not just for these two individuals, but for the rest of the rugby league scene. One final point then. You sort of talked about there's probably a way back for Adam Walker at 26.
Well, he'll be 28 if he picks up a 2-year ban, which I think would be unfair. 28 for a prop forward.
There's a way back. There's a way back there. For Rangy Chase, do you see any way back into the sport?
Yes, potentially, but at what level, I don't know. Maybe the best solution for Rangy Chase, and this is me talking from a million miles away from Rangy Chase's situation, maybe the best situation for Rangy Chase is to get the help that you need to get back on an even keel, where you can live and be a productive member of your family, and then society in some way, and if that involves working within rugby league, then brilliant. And play for the love of amateur, play for the love of the sport, and remove yourself from that professional pressure, and stay involved within rugby league in a coaching role or in some kind of role within a club, but play the sport for fun. Do you know what I mean? Maybe that's the route for him.
I have a little, I don't know, feeling in my mind that he's going to end up in a couple of years at Toulouse. I don't know why. I just think that's his next. Toulouse in the Championship is his next move. I don't know why I think that. That's just what I think.
If I was advising Rangy Chase and could guarantee that he'd listen to me, I'd just tell him to start from scratch. And start with him as the nucleus, and then build out and build back up. Because if you say to yourself, my target is to get over this ban and then be playing rugby league in 2 years' time, I don't necessarily think that he's setting the right target for himself, because his target should be focused inwards rather than to the future and playing rugby league again. If playing rugby league is the only thing that he's kind of blinkered towards, then he's not going to keep
making these.
He's not going to. Well, because he's putting so much pressure on himself, because he's hiding from everything else that could be going on in his head. Anyway. Amateur psychiatry to one side. Let's talk about something positive. Catalan fullback Tony Gigot has been banned for 2 years for a second time, according to the French club. Gigot is 26 and was suspended on the eve of this season for alleged inappropriate behaviour towards an anti-doping official. He appealed and the ban was reduced to 3 months, with the other 21 months suspended, enabling him to return to action this April. However, a Catalan club statement has revealed that the 2-year ban has been reinstated by the French anti-doping agency. They said the club is shocked by this decision. Tony Gigot underwent 3 anti-doping tests in 6 months and all of them were negative. The club will continue to support and protect Tony in this rough period. Our lawyer is studying the possibility of appealing this decision. The incident occurred during a France national team training camp match in Les Barçailles in October 2016. It is as yet unconfirmed whether the 2-year ban is backdated or whether the 3 months served earlier this year will be included. And Neil McKeon got in touch and said what we're all thinking.
Yeah, just to say Gigot ban baffles me.
Yeah, I can't get my head around a great deal of it, to be honest. It's one of those things that in my mind we'll understand more of in the fullness of time.
We've obviously talked about this before, because we talked about the decision, then the appeal, and now we're talking about the appeal of that, and soon we'll be talking about the appeal of the appeal of the appeal of the decision.
Yeah.
What I would be pulling out from this is, certainly if he's been inappropriate, he deserves some sort of punishment. I think we all settled on the start of the season issue, kind of with that period he was out of the side, kind of being sufficient. And I think everyone was okay with that. Everyone apart from the French anti-doping authorities, apparently.
Yeah.
So it just seems very strange. I'm not sure what grounds there were, what precedents there are within the French sporting world. Normally we'd ask Alan Walker, but he's just so determined that it's all some sort of sham and ruse to alienate rugby league yet further in France, which we've seen happen before. So yeah, it's a crazy situation, and I hope it's sorted out with Tony Gigot playing rugby league again by the end of this year.
Yes, as do I. Okay, Leeds Rhinos youngsters Jack Walker and Alex Sutcliffe have signed new deals with the club. Fullback Walker is 17 and had looked set to leave the club after they announced he had turned down a deal last month. And centre Sutcliffe is 18, made his Leeds Rhinos debut in the Super League defeat by Wigan in July. Walker's penned a new 3-year contract, while Sutcliffe has signed for 4 years.
Yeah, Rich Wilkinson got in touch. He said, really happy about Walker. I think he has made the right call. He will be 21 at the end of his next deal, and with anything possible before then, he could have played for England, ! Could be at Hunslet. If all goes well, Leeds will offer him an upgrade well before 2020. And then Neil McEwen said, Walker has signed because of peer pressure.
Right. The rumour I heard is that Walker's contract with his agent meant that he had to take the highest deal on offer, otherwise he'd be liable for the agent's fee. So if, for instance, Warrington had come in and offered him X amount more, but he'd wanted to stay at Leeds, he would have been liable. And
well, then he had a shitty deal with his agent, and his agent isn't looking out for the player, which is kind of shambolic of the whole.
If it's the agency that I think it is, then that's fairly endemic of that organisation, really. That whole show me the money crowd.
Is that so? Is that how you feel about them?
Yeah, my understanding is that they're a fairly reprehensible group of individuals when it comes to...
You want to be careful what you say, though, don't you?
Why is that?
Well, because they're probably litigious if they're of that sort.
I always say this is what I've heard.
Right, okay.
From my understanding.
Okay.
There you go.
Well,
by all means, sue me, lads. You're welcome. Jump on. You'll find it entirely worth your while.
But anyway, I think it's good for them both to be at Leeds, and whatever pressures Jack Walker's felt. I think in the end, obviously, all parties, including the agents, have come to a sensible conclusion, because I don't think Leeds will have outbid someone just on this basis.
No.
I think it was clear that they weren't willing to embark in those sort of games when they threw him under the bus so quickly after the initial deal that was on the table was turned down. Now maybe the terms will have changed slightly or whatever from what was initially put down, but I think that's probably justifiable with the way Walker has performed since he broke into the first team, and that will have fundamentally changed the negotiation position anyway. But I think he's in the best place for himself right now, and I think, like Rich says, lots of things can happen between now and then. And also, from Lee's perspective, it seems to have spurred old Cyborg on as well.
Yeah, Ash Golding weighing in with a couple of tries. So no, I think it's a good move for both of them. I don't know a tremendous amount about Alex Sutcliffe.
He played in the Wigan hammering the other week.
Yeah, we'll see how he goes on, and best of luck to the pair of them. Widnes Vikings forward Eamon O'Carroll has announced his retirement after suffering a nerve injury in their defeat by Wakefield on July 14th. That game is just ruining careers, isn't it? The 30-year-old former Ireland international played for Wigan.
Good news though, he can get on all the blow he wants now.
Yeah, do you think someone in those 217s like cheated death and like Final Destination style? People's careers are being ruined until finally fucking, I don't know, Dave Fafita gets caught out or something and he's the one. Anyway, Eamon O'Carroll has announced his retirement, having suffered a nerve injury in their defeat by Wakefield on the 14th of July. The 30-year-old former Ireland international played for Wigan and Hull FC before joining Widnes in 2012. Whilst I'm saddened my career has come to an end, I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity to live my dreams on the field, O'Carroll said. I'm proud to have represented 3 great clubs as well as my country. Solid pro, Eamon O'Carroll.
Got a lot of time for him as a character. He has struggled with injuries throughout, really. Yeah. He's always fought back. And it's just got one too far. I understand that this is kind of almost like a return or an inability to move on from previous injuries. So he's made the sensible choice for him in his career. I think he's tried to be sensible about things in the last 3 or 4 years anyway, and try to look at what he might be able to do after the game's finished for him, because he probably could see what was coming with the way his injury history has gone. But I don't think anyone at any of the clubs that he's represented will have too many bad words to say about Eamon O'Carroll, and I know that he always put in maximum effort and got every little bit out of the talent he had when he was at Wigan as a youngster. Yeah,
and good luck to him in the future. Salford will be without injured forwards Mark Flanagan for the rest of the season and Lamatasi for 10 weeks. Flanagan is 29 and was expected to return from a shoulder injury during the Super 8s, but medical staff have ruled against him coming back in 2017. And Tassie is 27 and sustained a knee injury in Salford's Challenge Cup semi-final loss to Wigan last Sunday. Martin Bridget, go ahead.
Flanagan, being a ball-playing forward who can put it about in defence as well, is one of those players that not every squad has, and not every squad has more, and no squad really has more than one of them. So that's a big miss as an extra link player for Salford.
Tassie is a jelly-handed liability, and I would suggest they're happy with him as far as
the question mark over the Tassie thing is obviously this injury is a legacy of the Sam Powell dangerous contact incident. Why did Salford allow him to play on? Why did Salford strap him up and get him back on?
Because for the last 5 weeks they've been getting rinsed down the middle and they need everybody out there.
But it's one of those things, isn't it? It's just... The tackle wasn't great, but would he have been injured long term without the play? It's hard to know for sure. He certainly wouldn't have shouldered Tally Matautai in the face later on in the game. So his ban that he got that would have kept him out last week anyway wouldn't have happened. It's just a difficult situation for all the sort of medical people, isn't it? And it's a tough job.
Yes, it certainly is. Martin Rigid could have played his final game for Huddersfield after being ruled out for the season. The on-loan Leigh halfback has had an operation that will keep him out for the remainder of the Giants Super 8